Hi guys, and welcome to our review, of course, of the brand new Range Rover Velar. This is an all new car from Range Rover, and it slots in between the Range Rover Sport and the Range Rover Evoque. This of course is based on the Jaguar F-Pace platform. So Land Rover has now taken an SUV platform from Jaguar, which took the concept of SUVs from its sister company Land Rover. It's all getting very incestuous and confusing, but anyway, stick with me. Now, even though I'm a Jaguar fan, I have to say I definitely prefer the looks of this car more than the F-Pace. It's sleeker, smoother, very futuristic, and get used to it, guys, because all future Range Rovers are all going to look a little bit like this. Check out that very slim front end. By the way, these little contrasting gills down here have sort of copper accents on them. It's interesting on this car because it only has it on there and on the bonnet panel here and on the side panel here. So it's very strange, but not on the back. Anyway, as I was saying, that very slim front end is now made possible thanks to Matrix laser LED lights. And this slim look at the front is actually replicated in the back, as all the lines, as you'll see, converge to the back to create a very kind of pert and nicely pinched bottom on this car. And in addition to that, I have to say, even on the sides, it has a really nice set of lines. And the interesting thing about it is, let me show you these door handles, which at the moment are popped out. But normally when you approach the car, and you'll find the wing mirror has gone in as well, they are flush with the bodywork until you press this button and they pop open like that. That's very clever. It helps with aerodynamics. But what happens when you have a flat battery? Not so sure about that one. Anyway, you get a choice of 3 engines and several layers of trim with this car. You get 2 versions of a 2-litre turbocharged engine in 250 brake horsepower and 300 brake horsepower. And you get a 3-litre V6 supercharged engine putting out 380 brake horsepower, and that's good for 0 to 100 in 5.7 seconds. And you know, that car is basically this car, but prices start at 246,000 dirhams or 67,000 dirhams, $67,000, and they go all the way up to 410,000 dirhams or $111,000 for basically this car that you're looking at here, which is the top of the range R dynamic version, but here in limited edition, first edition guys. But you know, stunning looks don't always necessarily mean a practical interior. So let's start with our usual look at the boot first of all. So let's open up the boot here. Do that with the key. And a fairly high loading lip. Can certainly sit on here, as is the typical thing you want to do with Range Rovers. Anyway, quite a decent bit of boot space actually. Quite a high loading area, but quite long and relatively wide, so not bad at all. You've got split folding seats. Under here you've got a spare tire, pretty much looks like a full-size spare tire to me. First aid kit over here, hooks over here to hold stuff with, a power supply here, that's just a warning triangle, and as I said, split folding rear seats, but surprisingly no button or handle back here to drop those seats, so you have to reach pretty much all the way over here, I think, somehow to drop the seats from here. Yeah, so you have to press that button and drop them down. Not too bad though. Let's see what the rear legroom is like. There we go. Let's get in here. Oh, it's very nicely upholstered, isn't it? Check this out. This might be part of the first edition trim level, and you can notice immediately that that pattern that they've got there, that sort of diamond shaped pattern, is replicated on this speaker cover here. The door is really nicely done with these carbon effect sort of areas here, piano black, leather, silver, all very plush inside here. It has a center armrest with 2 cup holders here. That's pretty much here. And back here you get 2 AC vents, and you get heated rear seats, which is quite good. And you get a USB there, a USB there, and a power supply there, and it's 5 volts, so that's quite fast charging. Now, in terms of space, headroom is not a problem, and you've got this even with this full-length sunroof, which is quite nice, giving it quite an airy feel in here. And elbow room is not an issue at all, but with the proviso that this front seat is set for me, and I'm 6'2", so on the taller side, this is my driving position, I am a bit cramped back here, and it's primarily because of this shield here, this pocket cover, which is quite a hard thing, which actually, if it wasn't there, there'd be a little little bit of extra room there. And the main problem that I'm having is with my, just below the knee here, it's hitting right against that seat back, and it's a little uncomfortable. Foot space is not a problem. It's just that bit there. So maybe in the next redesign or revision of this car, Land Rover might want to look at just scooping that out a little bit more, or changing the design of that pocket cover, just to free up a little bit more room. But certainly for regular size adults or for children, it would be fine. Not too bad, but it's time to get into the very futuristic front of the car. Can't wait. Wow, check this out. I mean, this is space age or what? The only downside of this interior, I have to say, is keeping all of this clean, particularly in the dusty area. Even that should be closed, and it makes up for a complete black glass finish interior. There's hardly any buttons in here. There's a starter button, so let's hit that to start with, shall we? To start with, get it? Look at that. Oh, volume is on. So there you go. This is quite an incredible interior. The only other place I've seen this kind of split screen thing is on the brand new Audi A8, which also does it, but basically 3 massive screens here, entirely digital. Now I have to, and also these buttons here, which are capacitive touch. So for example, to turn the volume up, I can do that, or I can press it, do it that way. And then actually when I use the button, if I press the button, which I've been having trouble with actually, now it worked this time, but I've had to press it a few times to make it work. Then you see the arrow, it changes into arrows now, so I can then go through these things, and you know, get things like full map and stuff. In which case, when I go back to the exit, I'll just get a full map all the way across, and then you get your speed and stuff down the bottom. But you also get a heads-up display. I don't know if you can quite make it out. I don't think you can, but yeah, just there. So it's not a loss actually, even if you do it that way. But oh, okay, now going back into menu. See, now it's not. Oh, there you go. So now go out. Oh, menu. It's all a bit. Now this is the thing about this, is that it is a little bit confusing. And 2-dial view. Let's go back to the 2-dial view. No, come on, play with me here, work with me. Here we go, 2-dial view. And if we go back out again, then I should come back to the trip meter. Normally, if you don't have anything there, it gives you a picture of the Range Rover Velar, in case you forget what your car looks like. In case you forget what your car looks like, not only can you have a picture there, but you have a picture here as well. Now this lower screen basically has 2 functions. It controls the climate, which is that one, and you've got heated and cooled seats and stuff like that. And these knobs then control the temperature. This here is the volume control here as well, so you can get rid of that. And there's the heated cooled seats. You press that and you get your seats there. You get your settings there, so you can change the settings for your climate and your seats there. Or it controls the vehicle modes. And again, then you see these knobs have now changed. Now one of the downsides of this is that when you're actually driving along and you're in this one and you want to turn the AC up and down, you then have to go back into climate in order to do that. You can't change the temperature. There's a few, to be honest, there's a few foibles in the way this system works, which really probably by second gen they'll sort out, but there's some things there that are not intuitive. Simple things like trying to find stuff. You know, simple things like, for example, the top bit here is where the infotainment system is. So the media, the phone, your Bluetooth, your navigation. Now the navigation, if you get your navigation, you'll get a map up here, which is good. And it does that thing where it tells you it's approaching a camera. But it does it on this screen, not on that screen. So you have to look down there to notice that there's a camera when it should be up there. I think there's a way of doing it there, but why doesn't it just permanently do it over there, like for example Volvo do, because that would be quite handy. And then you press that to go back to the home screen. But it's taken me a while even to figure out how to reset the trip meter and stuff like that, which actually is just a button on here. Now the trouble is that when you get a car with so much sophisticated electronics and controls, you start to think that everything should be sophisticated electronic, and you don't think that just to reset the trip meter, there is just simply a button that does it. Strange. But anyway, so this bit now controls the modes of the car, and you have dynamic mode, which is a kind of sporty thing there. And within the dynamic mode, you can then actually adjust the parameters, which actually comes up on the top screen. So now that's on top screen, and you can adjust which parameters you want to sharpen up and stuff like that. Or you can leave it in auto, or you can go for comfort, or you can go into eco, or you can go into gravel and stuff like that, or you can go into mud ruts, or you can go into sand, which is good for here, and you can also adjust the heights from here. So there's a lot that you can do. This logo here is actually a button which opens that. There's a transmission, 8-speed ZF transmission. By the way, it goes up by up to 250 millimeters on this car. This car's got air suspension. Top of the range car's got air suspension, and that's up to 250. I think the other ones are slightly less, 213 or something like that. Glove box there. Cup holder, round cup holder, square cup holder. square cup holder, square cup holder. 2 parts to this, and down here HDMI, 2 USBs. That's quite good, isn't it? A SIM card and a power supply as well. Now the other downside of this, and also I must mention that this screen actually comes up when you turn the car on, otherwise it sits down flush with the rest of the dashboard. That's kind of cool actually. And the AC vents are up there. Controls for the sunroof there, and I must also mention that it's got even little tweeter speaker things up here, so it's quite good. One thing you can't do, which you used to be able to do in the Range Rover, you could do it, but it's a bit high now, putting your elbow there, it's a bit too high. But then this car is a sleeker, sportier, lower slung sort of profile about it. So there you go. I mean, there's a lot going on here, there's a lot to take in, and really for an owner it's something that you could probably get used to after a while. You know, in a couple of days it's a little bit overwhelming. Is the drive overwhelming though? Let's find out. Right then, so let's take it for a little drive around these roads, and we'll leave it in automatic so it just looks after itself. So basically you're not supposed, this is the new sort of terrain system that basically should be able to do everything, but actually there's a few roundabouts here, so let's check it about here just to show you that actually it's quite sporty, and there's a little bit of body movement, a little bit of body hop as well. When you're checking it around like that. But actually if I put it into dynamic mode, shall we do that? And there's a little, I've also found that slow speeds, there you can see, at normal speeds on the motorways and stuff, it's very smooth, very refined. The ride is also very nice, it's very flowing. But I've noticed that slower speeds on potholes and speed bumps, it does kind of jolt a little bit, particularly the rear I've noticed for some reason. So there's a roundabout and it's in dynamic mode. So, a little bit of understeer, but actually holds on quite tight. Yeah, a little bit understeer there, but the body is very well controlled, so it doesn't lean like anyway like old Range Rovers used to before. So it's much better than that. But I'll tell you the other great thing about this car is the performance. You really do feel it. I mean, it's quite extraordinary for a car like this, and mid-range and from the get-go. So just punching it out of this corner, literally. Oh man, and it sounds all right. So it doesn't sound too bad, doesn't sound too exciting, but it sounds all right though. But really, and it's good road holding for what it is, considering. Wow! But actually, it does pick up very well. The response from the engine is fantastic, and you do feel that it's quite an eager unit that does like to get up and go. And let's put it back into auto mode now. So it normally, in auto mode, it normally goes into default comfort mode, which is ideal. Now yesterday I took it a little bit, I didn't take it on any sand, but I took it a little bit sort of gravel roading, dirt tracking, and it was absolutely fine there. You'll see that in the pictures. And I coped with rutted gravel reasonably well. Like I said, at lower speeds, the body it does jolt a little bit, and the ride is a little bit harsh. But pick up the speed a little bit, and actually it kind of smothers it down, as a good off-roader should do. So overall, it's very good. Despite this low roof and these narrow sort of looking windows with the lower, sleeker look about this car, visibility ain't too bad. Hasn't been a problem. But of course, there is a camera, a full 360 camera in this car, so it actually helps. But it's also actually quite maneuverable in car parks. I've noticed it's got quite a good turning circle, so it doesn't actually present too much of a problem. The camera is there as an aid, but it's not really necessary. The car isn't really that big or that difficult to manage. Transmission is fine, just leave it to itself and it does a good job. Same goes for the steering. It's just about spot on weighting, spot on assistance, spot on response, i.e. this is not a sports car, so you don't want it to be too aggressive, you don't want it to be too heavy, but I think for this kind of car it's perfectly well judged. And I think that's a pretty good term to use for this car in terms of its drivability. I would say it is very well judged. I think Range Rover, Land Rover have understood their driver, and they've understood how they will use the car, and they've got that pretty much spot on. It's a very satisfying place to be. It's a very luxurious, I mean, you spend a bit of money, you're like, okay, I know I've spent a bit of money. You may well think maybe I should have got a Range Rover Sport, and frankly maybe you should have, because that is a brilliant car. But when you're sitting in this cabin with your Star Trek space shuttle type of controls there, then you are thinking, okay, yeah, I get it. What I will say though is that what they haven't quite figured out is how these controls should actually work. So they're a little bit convoluted, they're a little bit complicated, they're a little bit intuitive, and I think they're probably going to have to fine tune it a little bit more and figure that out. I guess they're going to, that probably the next generation update, they'll get that. But get used to these systems, because as we've seen, for example, with Volvo, when they introduced a single tablet in their XC90 SUV, they've now got that in everything. So that's what ultimately happens, is that eventually this system will now appear probably, and I wouldn't be surprised even if in current gen Range Rovers, Range Rover Sport, when they just do the model year revisions, they might actually change the interiors and put this stuff in there as well. So overall, I like this car. I have to say, I do like it. I actually like it a lot more than the Jaguar F-Pace, which I'm a little bit surprised that I'm saying, because I'm normally a Jag man. But I think the Jag Saloons worked for me. This one, the F-Pace, this car just, it looks the part, feels the part, goes the part, if you see what I mean. And even though I was, rough roading a little bit yesterday, in the F-Pace I might have felt a little bit uncomfortable doing that, but in this car I was like, heck man, I'm in a Land Rover. I can go anywhere, so you do get that added layer of confidence and belief in its invincibility when it comes to all-terraining. So there you go, there's our review of the new Range Rover Velar. And Velar actually is a historical name from the Range Rover. Look it up and you'll see why. Let us know what you thought of the review in the comments below and elsewhere, and do please follow us on motoringme.com and all the social media. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course YouTube. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please do like, share, and subscribe. And you can also follow me. That'd be great. I'd love to see you there. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for watching. Until the next one. See you then.